In 2015, the Santana family was excited for a fun adventure. They packed their bags, grabbed their cameras, and headed out to explore Washington's famous Big Four ice caves. But what started as a happy family outing turned into a chilling nightmare. A crack echoed through the cave, and then chaos. Join us in this story to know what exactly happened to the Santana family at Big Four ice caves. The Big Four ice caves are located in the northwest part of Washington state. They're about an hour and 30 minutes away from Seattle by car. Washington state is close to Canada for anyone who knows a map. Big Four Mountain is a mountain in the Cascade Range of Washington state. It's located about 21 miles east of the town of Granite Falls. The mountain stands about 6,180 feet tall. Now, one of the most interesting features of Big Four Mountain is its steep north face, which is 4,200 feet high. At the bottom of this steep face, debris piles up due to avalanches. These debris piles can stay there all year round because the mountain provides continuous shade, preventing the debris from melting completely. The ice at the base of the mountain forms the lowest elevation glacier in the lower 49 states. This glacier is found at an elevation between 2,450 feet and 1,950 feet. During the summer, streams of melting snow flow beneath the debris piles. These streams then cause caves to form in the ice, creating the famous ice caves at Big Four Mountain. Now, you might think the temperatures around the Big Four ice caves are very cold, and they are compared to other parts of the United States. However, because the Pacific Ocean is so close, there's not a big difference in temperatures throughout the year. In the summer, temperatures rarely go above 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and in the winter, they can drop into the 30s at night. When the temperatures reach the 70s and 80s, it is a great time for people to get outside and enjoy the beautiful outdoors. Now, most people know about Mount Rainier, and for good reason, but there are many other trails and places to see in Washington state. The ice caves, again, are located at the bottom of an avalanche chute on the north face of Big Four Mountain. This, again, is a very small area where snow and water have worn away a path through the rock, creating a pool of ice at the bottom. This melting snow and wind from the avalanches have formed 3,100 feet of caves that stay icy all year, again because of the shade from the mountain. Now, these caves are very special because the temperatures are just right to make pieces of the ice cave melt and fall, creating new parts and shapes inside the ice. Every winter, new snow falls and adds to the structure of the caves. This cycle of melting snow and ice, followed by new snow, happens year after year, making the ice caves a fascinating place to visit. To visit one of Washington's most famous outdoor spots, you're going to need to start your hike at the trailhead of the Big Four Ice Caves Trail. The Big Four Ice Caves Trail is a well-known hiking path that has been named a National Recreation Trail. It's also called Trail 723. This trail is one of the most popular hikes in the Mount Baker Snoqualmie National Forest. It's known for being an easy hike, and it's a little over 2.3 miles for a round trip. Every year, more than 50,000 people come to hike this trail. On busy days, several hundred hikers might use the trail. Now, because it's so popular, the trailhead has two separate parking lots. The entire hike takes about 30 minutes to reach the caves and then another 30 minutes to get back to the parking lot. However, these parking lots often fill up quickly. When the parking areas are full, hikers sometimes have to park along the nearby Mountain Loop Road. This shows just how many people love to visit and hike the Big Four Ice Caves Trail. One other important thing to know is that there's no cell phone signals during the hike. This means that you cannot call or text anyone while you're on the trail. If you were hiking the trail today, you would see many warning signs telling you to stay out of the caves. These warning signs are there to keep people safe. In 2010, when John Tam and Tamami Okaoki visited the caves with their two kids, these warning signs were not in their original places. This lack of warning signs was very dangerous for visitors. So, while the Big Four Ice Caves Trail is a beautiful and popular hike, it is still very important to follow all of the safety warnings and signs in order to stay safe. Now, in 2010, the weather was warm. This warm weather caused a large chunk of ice, about the size of a small truck, to break away from the main structure of the ice caves. Sadly, this piece of ice hit 11-year-old Grace Tam. Grace was standing about 20 feet away from the cave waiting for her parents to take a photo when the ice struck her. Unfortunately, Grace passed away later that day. After this tragic accident occurred, Grace's family and the state of Washington created a memorial for her. They also made sure that plenty of warning signs were put up in the correct places now to prevent such accidents from happening again. These signs are meant to keep people safe by warning them about the dangers of going into the caves. And yet, even with all of the warning signs, every year there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people who still enter the caves. This shows that it is very important to pay attention to the safety signs and stay out of the caves in order to avoid any more tragic accidents. In July of 2015, a family from California visited the Big Four ice caves in Washington state. Annalisa Santana, who was 34 years old, came with her 4 children and her fiancé, Dustin Wilson. They were joined by Annalisa's 25-year-old brother, David Santana. The Santanas were on a family vacation to Washington, a place where Annalisa and David had spent their early years and had fond memories of exploring the outdoors. Annalisa was excited to share her love for Washington with her children, and she wanted them to experience the beauty of the state firsthand. The Big Four ice caves had come highly recommended by local residents, and it had received great reviews online. So because of all this positive feedback, Annalisa and David decided that it was a must-see attraction during their family trip. David, who was also married and had 2 children with another on the way, shared Annalisa's enthusiasm for showing their kids the wonders of Washington. So, together, they looked forward to creating new memories and enjoying the unique experience of exploring the ice caves. Now, if you're like me and you have kids, you know just how challenging it can be sometimes. Imagine taking 4 children on a 2-mile hike, even if it's considered an easy one. Definitely sounds like a daunting task. But, despite the potential difficulties, Annalisa saw it as a wonderful opportunity for her family to bond and explore the caves together. After about 30 minutes of walking, they finally reached the Big Four ice caves. The caves stood out starkly with their white, icy texture contrasting against the massive rock that they were nestled against. Now, this contrast is especially striking in the summer, when the caves are the only patches of ice and snow around. At the base of the structure, several caves opened up, disappearing into the darkness of the ice. As they approached, they couldn't help but notice the crowd of people. Some individuals were climbing onto the ice and venturing into the caves, despite numerous signs warning against it. These signs clearly stated the dangers and advised visitors to stay out of the caves to avoid accidents. Annalisa and David, along with their family, approached the Big Four ice caves. Again, they noticed a very large number of people going inside the ice caves, which convinced them to enter the cave after taking a few pictures from outside. Once they had entered into the cave, they were struck by the beauty of the blue ice and the cave's inner beauty. However, they also felt a deep chill that seemed to seep into their bones. The caves, understandably, were much colder inside compared to the warm temperatures outside. Everything looked normal and fine from the outside. Lots of hikers were still heading towards the cave, and many people stopped to snap photos at the cave entrance. But, as happens in many tales, that scene can change within a moment. One second, everything feels normal and safe. The next second, chaos can sweep in like a sudden storm, catching everyone by surprise. From outside the cave, everything was perfect. While hikers were taking pictures and enjoying the day, suddenly, a faint crack stabbed the air. It was quiet at first, just a distant sound, but then the ground began to shake. Before anyone could react, chunks of ice, Some as big as large trucks started falling down from the cave ceiling. Ice and snow flew in all directions upon impact, creating chaos and panic among those nearby. The entire terrifying event took only moments, but it felt much longer. The rising temperatures since May had weakened the ice over time until, on that fateful July 6th, it could no longer support the weight above it. Inside the cave, Annalisa and David, along with their families and several other tourists, were exploring when they heard that initial crack. They instinctively tried to find cover, shielding themselves behind whatever rocks that they could reach. But sadly, there wasn't enough time. Annalisa was hit by a huge piece of falling ice and lost her life instantly. Her brother, David, standing nearby, was also hit and nearly knocked unconscious by the force of the impact. In the midst of all of the chaos, those who managed to avoid getting hurt looked up in disbelief and fear. It was both a terrifying and heartbreaking moment. The peaceful exploration of these caves had now turned into a sudden tragedy that shook everyone who was there. The shock and horror of what had just happened lingered in the air, leaving everyone deeply saddened and stunned by this sudden loss and the unexpected turn of events. Inside the cave, the scene was both shocking and frightening. The first thing that everyone saw was a lot of ice spread across the cave floor, and some people lay there in the midst of it, crying out in pain with broken bones and other injuries. But what scared everyone the most was the silence from those who didn't say anything. Unfortunately, people would die from this, and many would be severely injured too. Among them was Dustin, Annalisa's fiancé, whose leg was injured. With the help of others, he managed to get out of the cave along with David and Annalisa's 4 children. However, they were now noticing that they were missing one family member. With no cell phone network inside the cave, it was impossible to call for help right away. It took over 30 minutes for a couple of hikers to reach their vehicle, and another 14 minutes to find a phone and alert the authorities about the incident. Again, both a tense and heartbreaking situation. The families and rescuers now faced a race against time to get help for those who were injured and unconscious inside the cave. The lack of communication had made the situation even more desperate as they struggled to reach out to emergency services and coordinate a rescue operation. As we have often observed in other incidents like this on this channel, the immediate time right after the accident is incredibly important. Waiting 45 minutes after the cave collapsed could truly mean the difference between life and death. Simply put, it's a failure on the part of the state not to have an emergency phone closer to the cave, regardless of whether or not there's cell phone service. After the call for help, a rescue helicopter was dispatched to the cave. The first person airlifted out was David Santana, who was now barely conscious due to severe injuries from the impact. Dustin, Annalisa's fiancé, and all 4 of her children were taken to the hospital as well. Dustin needed surgery on his leg, but thankfully, he and Annalisa's kids all recovered fully. Sadly, David's condition did not improve. He battled for his life in the intensive care unit for 3 long months, but he couldn't overcome his severe injuries. It is devastating to admit that David did not make it. He left behind his wife and 3 children, leaving his family and friends in deep sorrow. The loss of David weighs heavily on everyone who knew him. His passing is a reminder of the fragility of life and the suddenness with which tragedy can strike. Annalisa and David were known as loving and caring individuals, especially when it came to their families. They had big hearts, and their desire to create lasting memories for their children shines through in this story. Unfortunately, as we've said, life can take a very sudden turn in a mere moment. It took 2 days before Annalisa's body could be safely recovered from the depths of the caves. The rescue operation was painstakingly slow and careful, as teams had to be very cautious about the cave's unstable conditions. There was constant fear of another collapse, adding tension to an already difficult task. Fortunately, despite the challenges, the rescue teams were able to retrieve Annalisa's body without further incident. The loss of Annalisa and David was deeply felt by the families and the community. Their tragic fate shows us just how quickly life can change and the importance of safety in outdoor adventures. The Big Four ice caves remained closed for several months while the state reviewed how to improve safety for the public. Eventually, they started installing emergency phones closer to the caves. That way, if there was another collapse, rescue teams could respond much faster. They also added more warning signs, urging tourists once again to stay out of the caves. Unfortunately, it's not against the law to enter them, so every year, thousands of hikers still take the risk. 2 lives were tragically lost, and families were forever changed. And while the changes made by the state were necessary, they may still not be enough to prevent another accident. It's very unsettling to think that such a tragedy could easily happen again. It's a reminder of the delicate balance between enjoying nature's beauty and also ensuring everyone's safety. The state can only do so much to protect visitors, but still, more needs to be done to make sure that everyone can explore safely without risking their lives. This once happy family vacation had turned into a nightmare in the blink of an eye. Annalisa and David, full of love and excitement, were gone, leaving their families heartbroken. The silence after the chaos was deafening, filled with a heavy sadness that lingered in the air. Even though Dustin and the children were able to bravely heal from their injuries, losing their mother and uncle left a big hole in their lives. David's wife and kids now have to deal with the sudden loss of a husband and father. The absence of loved ones in such a tragic way is really hard, changing their families forever and leaving a lasting emotional impact on everyone involved. The Big Four ice caves, always a symbol of natural wonder, are now also a chilling reminder of the dangers that lurk beneath its surface. Even with new safety measures, a question continues to hang heavy. Will it be enough? Is this beautiful yet treacherous place worth the risk? The answer lies with every adventurer who dares to approach its icy embrace. But one thing is absolutely certain: safety should never be an afterthought. So, my dear viewers, before you embark on your next outdoor adventure, remember Annalisa and David. Remember the thrill of exploration, but also remember the importance of caution. Because in the face of nature's raw power, even the most well-intended plans can take a tragic turn. Hope you enjoyed the video, everybody. Make sure to like and make sure to hit that subscribe button and also turn that notification bell on for more true stories of tragedy and survival. Until then, stay safe out there, everybody, and thanks for watching.